Hello everyone, again welcome back to my channel Unfinished Curious Minds. Today we will going to discuss about Parapithecus. Uh, Parapithecus, the tiny primate that actually helped shape the story of human evolution. So let's get started. Imagine traveling back in times about 35 million years ago. The Sahara Desert does not exist as we know it today. Instead, northern Africa is covered with lush forests, rivers, and abundant wildlife. Hidden among the branches of these ancient trees lives a small primate no longer than a modern house cat. At first glance, it might seem insignificant, yet these tiny creatures would eventually become one of the most important fossil for understanding the origin of monkeys, apes, and even humans. This ancient primate is known as Parapithecus. Although Parapithecus was not a direct human ancestor, it lived during a critical stage in primate evolution and provides valuable clues about how early anthropoids and the group that includes monkeys, apes, and humans evolved. Today, we will explore the discovery, fossil evidence, geological age, physical features, and evolutionary relationships and significance of Parapithecus. Now, the question arises, what is Parapithecus? Parapithecus is Parapithecus is an extinct primate, extinct primitive anthropoid primate that lived during Oligocene epoch. Okay, the name Parapithecus actually means that besides the ape, or it is also known as ape-like primate. Parapithecus belong to uh, anthropoid primate group, and however it extinct, it lived during the Oligocene epoch, which is very important. And if we look at the name Parapithecus, then it literally means that beside the apes, or we can say ape-like primates. So it belonged to a group of early anthropoids that occupied Africa long before the appearance of modern humans and monkeys and apes. And Parapithecus is important because it represents one of the earliest known stages in anthropoid evolution. Discovery of Parapithecus. Parapithecus, uh, talking about the discovery of the Parapithecus, the story usually begins in Egypt in the early 20th century. Paleontologists explored the fossil-rich deposit of the Fayum Depression. This region would eventually become one of the most famous fossil primate localities in the world. In 1907, the renowned paleontologist Andrews described Parapithecus based on fossil remains recovered from Fayum. Although the fossils were fragmentary, they revealed a primate unlike any living species. Scientists also realized that they had discovered an important members of ancient anthropoid radiation. However, uh, there are some other paleontologists such as Max was the first who actually described um, he is basically a German paleontologist who uh, discovered first in his study about Parapithecus. Then um, comes the Elvin L. Simons and his colleagues. Uh, they further recovered additional skull and dental remains greatly and give uh, further explanation in their research. There are two types of uh, uh, discoveries of Parapithecus. First one is the Parapithecus frasai, and another one is the Parapithecus grangeri. The Fayum deposit, however, preserved an extraordinary record of Oligocene life. Um, Early primates, ancient elephants, crocodiles, carnivorous mammals. Because of these discovery, Fayum is often called one of the most important windows into primate evolution. However, they are I was talking about the specimens and the fossils of Parapithecus. There are mainly two types of Parapithecus specimen, Parapithecus frasai, known primarily from the mandibular and dental remains. Another skull, which is named as Parapithecus grangeri, it actually uh, discovered from the region Fayum in Egypt. Specimens were mandibles and upper dentition from the Fayum deposit. Fossils includes skulls, fragments, lower jaw, teeth, and cranial remains. The Fayum deposits are one of the most important paleogenic primate fossil sites in the world and have yielded several numerous anthropoids such as Parapithecus, Apidium, Egyptopithecus, and many more. Now we will be discussing about the geological age. Parapithecus lived approximately 34 to 30 million 34 to 30 million years ago. However, in some books, there are some evidences of 40 to 33 million years ago also. At this time, Earth was undergoing several rather major climatic changes. Temperatures were gradually cooling and forests remained widespread in many regions, providing habitats for arboreal primates. These environmental conditions allowed early anthropoids such as Parapithecus to flourish. Mm, most Parapithecus fossils include jaw. Most Parapithecus Fossils include jaw fragments and teeth, mandibular remains. Although the fossils record is incomplete and the teeth provide valuable information about diet and evolutionary relationship. In paleoanthropology, teeth are often the most informative fossil because they preserve well and contain information, uh, important taxonomic characteristics, and many more. There are several physical characteristics of Parapithecus. Mostly, uh, they were believed to be relatively smaller primates. Scientists also estimated that it might weigh only a few kilograms. Um, Primate, it is very primitive dental features, low crowned molars and broad chewing surface, also well developed premolars. These features somehow suggest that they include fruit, seeds, and other plants as their um, diet pattern. Mm, Their cranial features fully enclosed eye socket, a relatively small brain compared to the modern anthropoids, less orbital capacity than the modern monkeys and apes. Skull was very primitive in nature. They were arboreal dwellers and they are believed to be frugivorous. That means used to consume fruit as their diets. Other than that, leaves, seeds, and soft plant materials. Because of their teeth, the indications by the paleoanthropology suggest that it actually they adapted for processing plant foods rather than hunting or consuming hard animals. Like many modern primates, it likely spent much of its day on foraging and avoiding predators. Phylogenetic position, Parapithecus occupies an important place in primate evolution. Talking about the classification, Animalia, Chordata, Mammalia, then primates, Anthropoidea, Parapithecus. Parapithecus, most researchers consider Parapithecus as a very primitive anthropoid because it existed before the major evolutionary split that later produced New World monkey and Old World monkey, and then apes and humans. Thus, Parapithecus provides insight into the early stage of anthropoid classification. However, talking about the evolutionary significance, why it is important, like why is Parapithecus important? Because it actually helps scientists understand what early anthropoid looked like before modern primate group evolved. It also reveals that primitive anthropoid characteristics like early dental evolution and adaptation to arboreal life stages in primitive diversification. Without fossils such as Parapithecus, reconstructing anthropoid evolution would be far more difficult. In a conclusion, we can say that Parapithecus may not have been a human ancestor, but it was an important participant in the evolutionary story that eventually led to monkey, apes, and humans discovered in Egypt's Fayum depression. This small Oligocene primate provides valuable clues about the origin of anthropoids. Its fossil remind us that even the smallest creatures can have enormous importance in understanding the life's history. Mm, Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more anthropology and human evolution related content. Thank you.